Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. It has been a while. We have not been on here for a couple of weeks, always because I give you a breather in between our books. When we finish one, which we just finished, The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, that book was absolutely amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. It literally changed the way I saw things, the way I feel things, the way I think of things, the way I perceive things. Oh my goodness, it definitely changed. Listen, if you feel at any point in your journey in this thing we call life that you have arrived to a place of um togetherness, whatever that means, or wholeness, whatever that means, um you are mistaken. Because as long as we are here, there is always, 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 always more to regain, to remember, to reassess, to return to restore, to recollect. You know what I mean? There's so much more, man. Um, the why there's a statement, I forget who said it, but they stated that the wise man, the wisest man, understands that the more he learns, the more he realizes that there is so much more to learn. Oh my goodness, man, because pride should be a thing of the past as well as an illusion. There should be no pride. There should be no arrogance. There should be no narcissism. There should be none of that. Literally, if we all were to really say, oh my God, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. I'm grateful for here. I'm grateful for now. Because I'm not where I used to be. Grateful, grateful. I put out a post the other day where I said, I'm grateful for and I mourn the young lady that I was. I'm grateful for and I mourn the previous woman that I was. But I stand right here in so much gratitude for having being reshaped constantly because it's a choice, y'all. It's a choice. Every day we have to choose to accept the reshaping, to allow ourselves to be reshaped, to allow ourselves to be loved by life, loved by the universe, loved by our our guides and teachers, both physical and non-physical, loved enough to open us up and guide us in the direction of reshaping, remembering, restoring, returning. And I am here for it. When I tell you I am here for it, obviously, the more we read anything, it's going to cause old things that no longer serve us. They served us once upon a time. They no longer serve us. That's why I said I'm grateful for and weep for the young lady I used to be. Grateful for and weep for the previous woman I used to be, the little girl that I used to be. I'm grateful for and I weep for because although we stand in gratitude, I also see where I have come from. And I do not desire, with gratitude, I do not desire to return there. My goodness. And it's material like the seed of the soul, or of course in miracles, or the mountain is you, or so many different things that we have read through, the secret, and the magic, and all of the power, all of those things. There are so many things that we have journeyed through in the course of this reading collective that has caused us to be reshaped and morphed and transformed in the most miraculously beautiful, amazing, astounding, bending and shaping and reshaping way. And I am excited for it, man. I am here for all of the things, and I allow every single thing that each chapter of our existence, whether shared or otherwise, I am grateful for everything that presents itself in this time of us sharing this plane, this realm, this planet together. Okay, we are on another trajectory here. Okay, so today marks day one. Today on Resurrection / Easter Day. Happy Easter, everyone. Those who do celebrate Easter, happy Easter, happy Resurrection. I myself, I don't want to say celebrate, but I do understand the backstory. Sometimes you all we have to really, really, and truly do the due diligence by studying to show ourselves approved. Meaning, read. Research, please. Easter is the modernized, westernized revamping of Ishtar, 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 which was the goddess of fertility. Okay, which is why eggs are there. Okay, new babies, new birth, which is why the Easter bunny is there, the bunny, because bunny is representation of fertility and multiplication and expanding and things like that. Okay. I don't know how we paired Easter with the resurrection of Christ, because um in the Bible it talks about how Christ was in the tomb 3 days and 3 nights, which means that if he went in the tomb on Friday, he would not be would not have resurrected until Monday, Monday night. so, so I'm like, oh God, Lord, we are very big on just gravitating towards things that are said to be tradition, but we take on so much stuff without doing the proper research, and we just take it and just whatever and call it tradition, call it culture, and it's so much. You all, please do your research and do your homework and stop following the trend, okay? Because you have no idea what you're following. It is definitely paganistic for sure. What it's been made to be. But do your homework, okay? Do your homework, all right? Listen, don't get me started on Santa Claus, okay? Don't get me started on Santa Claus and all of the things, okay? Please. A lot of this stuff is not even the Americas, okay? Not at all, but it's been appropriated. So that's a whole other story. Leading me, here's a perfect segue. We're going into our book that we're reading today. It is entitled Caste. I know we're going to be reading the what was it called? A Course in Miracles, okay? However, the reason that I wanted to interject with this book is because we're going to be the next book we're going to be reading, A Course in Miracles, and it's going to make more sense because we'll know how to remedy the things that we are learning in this book called Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, written by Isabel Wilkerson. There is a movie depiction, a movie adaptation of this. It's called Origins. Phenomenal movie. Phenomenal movie. But we already know the book is even more amazing, brilliant, enlightening, and I have to shout my sister out, for my baby sister, for putting me onto the book. I've seen the movie. I've seen the movie, and I remember it to be very, not jarring, but very awakening, enlightening for sure, to our truths in this realm here. Okay, the origins of our discontent. Again, the movie is called Origin. Okay, so we're going to be reading this today. And if you, as you already know, we do have the book available for free. Yes, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Yes, we do accept donations, and they're all are welcomed. However, it is not required for you to acquire your copy of the reading material. So at any point, you want to receive your free copy, you let us know. I'll tell you how you can do that at the end of our segment. Okay. Now, this book is going to take us, I'm just going to forewarn you, it's going to take us through a journey. And I believe it's provocative. I have never read the book before, so I'm going to be, as with all books that we've read together, I've never read them with you. So I don't know what to expect from it either. This is a ride that we're taking together, all right, for the first time. But the content of this book, they have a cover, obviously, title page, copyright, epigraph, and the man in the crowd. We will be reading the man in the crowd, okay? Then it goes to part 1, toxins in the permafrost and heat rising all around. Okay, in part 1, there is chapter 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1 is the aftermath of pathogens, which we will be reading today, the vitals of history. Chapter 2, an old house and an infrared light. Chapter 3, an American untouchable, and that is an invisible program. Okay, then we go to chapter 2. I'm not going to go through all of the chapters, but part 2, the arbitrary construction of human divisions. My goodness. This is the perfect time for this book. This season that we're in, this is the perfect time for this book. Okay, not only with the current administration and what's been happening since January 20th and even prior to, but with the astrological transit that we're in right now, Pluto in Aquarius. Okay, Pluto being you all know I'm an astrologer, so Pluto being the planet of transformation, and Aquarius being the sign of liberation, freedoms, communities, technology, the people, pretty much, which says that, and it's stationed in this particular transit. This transit is stationed for the next 25 to 30 years. And the last time, every time, historically speaking, that this transit has taken place, there has been a revolutionary war where the people have overthrown the government. Okay? Because they realize that, we are not going to be bullied. We're not going to be, taken advantage of. We're not going to be mistreated. We're not going to go through that. So this is the perfect time for material like this, so that we can understand, where did this even begin? Where did this division begin? In part 2 of this book, the arbitrary construction, the construction of human divisions. Come on now. Chapter 4, a long-running play and the emergence of caste in America. Chapter 5, the container we have built for you. Listen. Chapter 6, the measure of humanity. Chapter 7, through the fog of Delhi to the parallels in India and America. Chapter 8, the Nazis and the acceleration of caste. The acceleration of caste. Chapter 9, the evil of silence. Come on. We see a lot of that going on right now in a lot of our opposite ethnicities. The evil of silence, not standing up and not speaking up for what's right, also says that, you're okay with, even if you're not okay with, you not saying something says that you are. You not standing up for what's right says that you are. The mistreatment of, my goodness, part 3. I said I wasn't going to go through all of these, but I think I do need to. Part 3, the 8 pillars of caste, the foundations of caste, the origins of our discontents. Pillar number 1, divine will and the laws of nature. Pillar number 2, heritability. Pillar number 3, endogamy and the control of marriage and mating. Come on, my God. Pillar number 4, purity versus pollution. Pillar number 5, occupational hierarchy, the jadis and the mud seal. Pillar number 6, dehumanization and stigma. Pillar number 7, terror as enforcement, cruelty as a means of control. Pillar number 8, inherent superiority versus inherent inferiority. That is good. I'm looking forward to that. But I'm sure it's a slow burn. It's a walk through, a journey here that they're going to be taking us through, that Isabel Wilkerson takes us through in this read. Okay, part 4, the tentacles of caste. Right? That consists of brown eyes versus blue eyes. Listen, chapter 10, central miscasting. Chapter 11, dominant group status threat and the precarity of the highest rung. Chapter 12, a scapegoat to bear the sins of the world. Chapter 13, the insecure alpha and the purpose of an underdog. Chapter 14, the intrusion of caste in everyday life. Chapter 15, the urgent necessity of a bottom rung. Chapter 16, last place anxiety, packed in a flooding basement. Chapter 17, on the early front lines of caste. And chapter 18, Satchel Paige and the illogic of caste. Right? Then it goes to part 5, the consequences of caste. Chapter 19, the euphoria of hate. Ooh, the euphoria of hate. Because it gives a sense of, my goodness. Chapter 20, the inevitable narcissism of caste. Chapter 21, the German girl with the dark, wavy hair. Chapter 22, the Stockholm Syndrome and the survival of the subordinate caste. Chapter 23, shock troops on the borders of hierarchy. And then chapter 24, cortisol, telomeres, and the lethality of caste. Then we go to part 6, backlash. Chapter 25, a change in the script. Chapter 26, turning point and the resurgence of caste. Chapter 27, the symbols of caste. Chapter 28, democracy on the ballot. And chapter 29, the price we pay for a caste system. And then the last part, part 7, awakening. Chapter 30, shedding the sacred thread, the radicalization of the dominant caste. And then chapter 31, the heart is the last frontier. My goodness. The heart is the last frontier. And then there's the epilogue, a world without caste, right? So we're going to be going through all of that. That is the journey that we're about to embark on. So I hope that you have your seatbelt buckled, because today we're going to be going over the man in the crowd, as well as part 1, chapter 1, the afterlife of pathogens. Okay. My goodness. So listen, if any point you or hear anything that sticks out to you, I know on Clubhouse it wouldn't let me update the name of the book, so Clubhouse still thinks that we're reading A Course in Miracles. Unfortunately, I do apologize for that, but Clubhouse has so many rules and so many things, and it's just yeah. But I love you anyway, Clubhouse. Thank you so very much for the platform. But we will have that set and updated by the next time, which is Tuesday when we come live. All right. So here we go. If you have any messages or anything that you want to say regarding anything that sticks out during the reading, please utilize the chat. That's what it's there for. Utilize the comment section, and I will see it and I will give voice to your words. Okay. If not, you can definitely take advantage of this and listen in as if, audio book style, podcast style, however you want to. But if anything sticks out, please use the chat. That's what it's there for, okay? Alrighty, without further ado, here we go. This is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, written by Isabel Wilkerson. A quote from James Baldwin: "Because even if I should speak, no one would believe me. And they would not believe me precisely because they would know that what I said was true." Another quote by Albert Einstein: "If the majority knew of the root of this evil, then the road to its cure would not be long." I believe that. Okay, you all, here we go. This is A Man in the Crowd. There is a famous black and white photograph from the era of the Third Reich. It is a picture taken in Hamburg, Germany in 1936 of shipyard workers, 100 or more, facing the same direction in the light of the sun. They are hailing in unison, their right arms rigid in outstretched allegiance to the Führer. If you look closely, you can see a man in the upper right who is different from the others. His face is gentle but unyielding. Modern day displays of the photograph will often add a helpful red circle around the man or an arrow pointing to him. He is surrounded by fellow citizens caught under the spell of the Nazis. He keeps his arms folded to his chest as the stiff palms of the others hover just inches from him. He alone is refusing to salute. He is the one man standing against the tide. Looking back from our vantage point, he is the only person in the entire scene who is on the right side of history. Everyone around him is tragically, fatefully, categorically wrong. In that moment, only he could see it. His name is believed to have been August Landmesser. At the time, he could not have known the murderous path the hysteria around him would lead to. but he had already seen enough to reject it. He had joined the Nazi Party himself years before. By now, though, he knew firsthand that the Nazis were feeding Germans lies about Jews, the outcasts of his era, that even this early in the Reich, the Nazis had caused terror, heartache, and disruption. He knew that Jews were anything but Untermenschens, that they were German citizens, human as anyone else. He was an Aryan in love with a Jewish woman, but the recently enacted Nuremberg laws had made their relationship illegal. They were forbidden to marry or to have sexual relations, either of which amounted to what the Nazis called racial infamy. His personal experience and close connection to the scapegoated caste allowed him to see past the lies and stereotypes so readily embraced by susceptible members, the majority, sadly, of the dominant caste. Through Aryan himself, though Aryan himself, his openness to the humanity of the people who had been deemed beneath him gave him a stake in their well-being, their fates tied to his. He could see what his countrymen chose not to see. In a totalitarian regime such as that of the Third Reich, it was an act of bravery to stand firm against an ocean. We would all want to believe that we would have been him. We might feel certain that we were Aryan citizens under the Third Reich. We surely would have seen through it, would have risen above it like him, been that person resisting authoritarianism and brutality in the face of mass hysteria. We would like to believe that we would have taken the more difficult path of standing up against injustice in defense of the outcast. But unless people are willing to transcend their fears, endure discomfort and derision, suffer the scorn of loved ones and neighbors and co-workers and friends, fall into disfavor of perhaps everyone they knew, face exclusion and even banishment, it would be numerically impossible, humanly impossible for everyone to be that man. What would it take to be him in any era? What would it take to be him now? My goodness. Yes, all of us will say, well, if I were him or if I were them, I would have done this, I would have done that. Would you have, though, is the question. Would you have? All right. That's good. And I do recall that picture. I think all of us, whether we remember seeing it or not, you've seen it before. Going into part one, toxins in the permafrost and heat rising all around. Chapter 1, the afterlife of pathogens. In the haunted summer of 2016, an unaccustomed heat wave struck the Siberian tundra on the edge of what the ancients once called the end of the land. Above the Arctic Circle and far from the tectonic plates colliding in American politics, the heat rose beneath the Earth's surface and also bore down from above, the air reaching an inconceivable 95 degrees on the Russian peninsula of Yamal. Wildfires flared and pockets of methane gurgled beneath the normally frozen soil in the polar region. Soon, the children of the indigenous herdsmen fell sick from a mysterious illness that many people alive had never seen and did not recognize. A 12-year-old boy developed a high fever and acute stomach pains and passed away. Russian authorities declared a state of emergency and began airlifting hundreds of the sick and hurting people, the Nanettes, to the nearest hospital in the Selkirk. Scientists then identified what had afflicted the Siberian settlements. The aberrant heat had chiseled far deeper into the Russian permafrost than was normal and had exposed a toxin that had been encased since 1941, when the world was last at war. It was the pathogen anthrax, which had killed herds of reindeer all those decades ago and lain hidden in the animal carcasses long since buried in the permafrost. Wow. A thawed and tainted carcass rose to the surface that summer. The pathogens awakened, intact, and as powerful as it had ever been. The pathogen spores seeped into the grazing land and infected the reindeer and spread to the herders who raised and relied upon them. The anthrax, like the reactivation of the human pathogens of hatred and tribalism in this evolving century, had never died. It lay in wait, sleeping until extreme circumstances brought it to the surface and back to life. My goodness. On the other side of the planet, the world's oldest and most powerful democracy was in spasms over an election that would transfix the Western world and become a psychic break in American history, one that will likely be studied and dissected for generations. That summer and into the fall and in the ensuing years to come, amid talk of Muslim bans, nasty women, border walls, and shithole nations, it was common to hear in certain circles the disbelieving cries, "This is not America," or "I don't recognize my country," or "This is not who we are," except that this was and is our country, and this was and is who we are, whether we have known or recognized it or not. The heat rose in the Arctic and in random encounters in America. Late that summer in New York City and Indigo Harbor in a safely blue state, a white man in Brooklyn, an artist, was helping a middle aged white woman carry her groceries to a southbound subway in the direction of Coney Island. By then, it was impossible to avoid talk of the campaign. It had been a political season unlike any other. For the first time in history, a woman was running as a major party candidate for the president of the United States, a household name. The candidate was a no nonsense national figure, overqualified by some estimates, conventional and measured, if uninspiring. No, conventional and measured, if uninspiring to her detractors, with a firm grasp of any policy or crisis that she might be called upon to address. Her opponent was an impetuous billionaire, a reality television star prone to insulting most anyone unlike himself, who had never held public office, who pundits believe had no chance of winning his party's primaries, much less the presidency. Before the campaign was over, the male candidate would stalk the female candidate from behind during a debate seen all over the world. He would boast of grabbing women by their genitals, mock the disabled, encourage violence against the press and against those who disagreed with him. His followers jeered the female candidate, chanting, "Lock her up," at mass rallies over which the billionaire presided. His components and activities were deemed so coarse that some news reports were preceded by parental advisories. Here was a candidate so transparently unqualified for the job, wrote The Guardian in 2016, that his candidacy seemed more like a prank than a serious bid for the White House. On the face of it, what is commonly termed race in America was not an issue. Both candidates were white, born to the country's historic dominant majority. But the woman candidate represented the more liberal party, made up of a patchwork of coalitions of, roughly speaking, the humanitarian minded and the marginalized. The male candidate represented the conservative party that in recent decades had come to be seen as protecting an old social order, benefiting and appealing largely to white voters. The candidates were polar opposites, equally loathed by the fans of their respective adversary. The extremes of that season forced Americans to take sides and declare their allegiances or find a way to dance around them. So, on an otherwise ordinary day, as the Brooklyn artist was helping the older woman with her groceries, she turned to him, unbidden, and wanted to know who he was voting for. The artist, being a progressive, said he was planning to vote for the Democrat, the more experienced candidate. The older woman with the groceries must have suspected as much and was displeased with his answer. She, like millions of other Americans in the historic majority, had brightened to the blunt spoken appeals of the nativist billionaire. Only weeks before, the billionaire had said that he would shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his followers would still vote for him. devoted as they were. The woman overladen with groceries was one of them. In the bluest of sanctuaries, she had heard his call and decoded his message. She took it upon herself to instruct the artist on the error of his thinking and why it was urgent that he vote the right way. Yes, I know he mouths off at times, she conceded, drawing closer to her potential convert. But he will restore our sovereignty. Mm. It was then, before the debates and cascading revelations to come, that the Brooklyn man realized that despite the odds and all historic precedent, a reality star with the least formal experience of perhaps anyone who had ever run for president will become the leader of the free world. The campaign had become more than a political rivalry. It was an existential fight for primacy in the country, though whose demographics had been shifting beneath us all. People who look for the Brooklyn artist, who look like the Brooklyn artist, and the woman headed toward Coney Island, those whose ancestry traced back to Europe, had been in the historic ruling majority, the dominant racial caste in an unspoken hierarchy, since before the founding of the Republic. But in the years leading to this moment, it had begun to spread on talk radio and cable television that the white share of the population was shrinking. In the summer of 2008, the U.S. Census Bureau announced this projection that by 2042, for the first time in American history, whites would no longer be the majority in a country that had known of no other configuration, no other way to be. Then, that fall, in the midst of what seemed a cataclysmic financial crisis, and as if to announce a potential slide from preeminence for the caste that had long been dominant, an African American, a man from what was historically the lowest caste, was elected president of the United States. His ascension incited both premature declarations of a post racial world and an entire movement whose sole purpose was to prove that he had not been born in the United States, a campaign led by the billionaire who was now in 2016 running for the president for president himself. A low rumble had been churning beneath the surface. Neurons excited by the prospect of a cocksure champion for the dominant caste, a mouthpiece for their anxieties. A mouthpiece for their anxieties. Some people grew bolder because of it, it's true. A police commander in southern New Jersey talked about mowing down African Americans and complained that the woman candidate, the Democrat, would give in to all the minorities. That September, he beat a handcuffed black teenager who had been arrested for swimming in the pool without authorization. That same police commander, my goodness. The commander grabbed the teenager's head and witnesses said rammed it like a basketball into a metal door jamb. As the election drew near, the commander told his officers that the reality television star is the last hope for white people. Observers the world over recognize the significance of the election. Onlookers in Berlin and Johannesburg, Delhi and Moscow, Beijing and Tokyo stayed up late into the night or the next morning to watch the returns that first Tuesday in November 2016. Inexplicably, to many outside the United States, the outcome would turn not on the popular vote, but on the electoral college, an American invention from the founding era of slavery by which each state has a say in declaring the winner based on the electoral votes assigned them and the outcome of the popular vote in their jurisdiction. By then, there had been only 5 elections in the country's history in which the Electoral College or a similar mechanism had overruled the popular vote. Two such cases occurred in the 21st century alone. One of those two was the election in 2016, a collision of unusual circumstance. The election would set the United States on a course toward isolationism, tribalism, the walling in and protection of one's own, the worship of wealth and acquisition at the expense of others, even of the planet itself. After the votes had been counted and the billionaire declared the winner, to the shock of the world and of those perhaps less steeped in the country's racial and political history, a man on a golf course in Georgia could feel freer to express himself. He was a son of the Confederacy, which had gone to war against the United States for the right to enslave other humans. The election was a victory for him and for the social order he had been born to. He said to those around him, I remember a time when everyone knew their place. Time we got back to that. The sentiment of returning to an old order of things, the closer hierarchy of the ancestors, soon spread across the land in a headline grabbing wave of hate, crime, and mass violence. Shortly after Inauguration Day, a white man in Kansas shot and killed an Indian engineer, telling the immigrant and his Indian co-worker to get out of my country as he fired upon them. The next month, a clean-cut white Army veteran caught a bus from Baltimore to New York on a mission to kill Black people. He stalked a 66-year-old Black man in Times Square and stabbed him to death with a sword. The attacker would become the first white supremacist convicted on terrorism charges in the state of New York. On a packed commuter train in Portland, Oregon, a white man hurling racial and anti-Muslim epithets attacked two teenage girls, one of whom was wearing a hijab. Get the fuck out, he ranted. We need Americans here. When three white men rose to the girls' defense, the attacker stabbed the men for doing so. I'm a patriot, the attacker told the police en route to jail, and I hope everyone I stabbed died. Tragically, two of the men did not survive their wounds. Then, in that summer of 2017, a white supremacist drove into a crowd of anti hate protesters in Charlottesville, Virginia, killing a young white woman, Heather Heyer, in a standoff over monuments to the Confederacy that drew the eyes of the world. The year 2017 would become the deadliest to date for mass shootings in modern American history. In Las Vegas, there occurred the country's largest such massacre, followed by one mass shooting after another in public schools, parking lots, city streets, and superstores across the nation. In the fall of 2018, 11 worshipers were slain at a Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh in the worst anti Semitic attack in the U.S. soil. Outside Louisville, Kentucky, a man attempted a similar assault on a Black church, yanking the locked doors to try to break in and shoot parishioners at their Bible study. Unable to pry the doors open, the man went to a nearby supermarket and killed the first Black people he saw. A Black woman in the parking lot heading in for groceries, and a Black man buying poster board with his grandson. An unarmed bystander happened to see the shooter in the parking lot, which got the shooter's attention. Don't shoot me, the shooter told the onlooker, and I won't shoot you. According to news reports, whites don't kill whites. Wow. In the ensuing month, as the new president pulled out of treaties and entreated dictators, many observers despaired of the end of democracy and feared for the republic. On his own, the new leader withdrew the world's oldest democracy from the 2016 Paris Agreement, in which the nations of the world had come together to battle climate change, leaving many to anguish over an already losing race to protect the planet. Soon, a group of leading psychiatrists whose profession permits them to speak of their diagnosis only in the event of a person's danger to oneself or others took the extraordinary step of forewarning the American public that the newly installed leader of the free world was a malignant narcissist, a danger to the public. By the second year of the administration, brown children were behind bars at the southern border, separated from their parents as they sought asylum. The decades-old protection of air and water endangered species were summarily rolled back. Multiple campaign advisors faced prison terms in widening investigations into corruption, and a sitting president was being described as an agent of a foreign power. The opposition party had lost all three branches of government and fretted over what to do. It managed to win back the House of Representatives in 2018, but this left the party with only 1/6 of the government, meaning one half of the legislative branch, and thus hesitant at first to begin impeachment proceedings that were his purview, that were its purview. Many feared a backlash, feared rifling up the billionaire's base, in part because, though it represented a minority of the electorate, yes, his base was made up overwhelmingly of people in the dominant caste. The single mindedness of the president's followers and the anguish of the opposition seemed to compromise the system of checks and balances thought to be built into the foundation, and meant that, for a time, the United States was not, in the words of Democratic Party chair in South Carolina, a fully functional democracy. At the start of the third year, the president was impeached by opponents in the lower chamber and acquitted by loyalists in the Senate, their votes falling along party lines that reflected the fractures in the country as a whole. It was only the third such impeachment trial in American history. By now, more than 300 days had passed without a White House press briefing, a Washington ritual of accountability. It had fallen away so quietly that few seemed to notice this additional breach of normalcy. Then the worst pandemic in more than a century brought humanity to a standstill. The president dismissed it as a Chinese virus that would disappear like a miracle, called the growing uproar a hoax, disparaged those who disagreed or sought to forewarn him. Within weeks, the United States would be afflicted with the largest outbreak in the world. Governors pleading for test kits and ventilators, nurses seen wrapping themselves in trash bags to shield against contagion as they aided the sick. The country was losing the capacity to be shocked. The unfathomable became just another part of one's day. What had happened to America? What could account for tens of millions of voters choosing to veer from all custom and to put the country and thus the world in the hands of an untested celebrity who no one, well, one who had never served in either war or public office, unlike every man before him, and one whose rhetoric seemed a homing device for extremists? Were the coal miners and auto workers restless in a stagnating economy? Were the people in the heartland lashing back at the coastal elites? Was it that a portion of the electorate was just ready for a change? Was it really true that the woman in the race, the first to make it this close to the nation's highest office, had run an unholy mess of a campaign, as two veteran political journalists put it? Was it that urban, meaning black, voters did not turn out, and the evangelical, meaning white, voters did? How could so many people, ordinary working folks who needed health care and education for their children, protection of the water they drink, and the wages they depended on, vote against their own interests, as many progressives were heard to say in the fog of what turning point in political history? These were all popular theories in the aftermath, and there may have been some element of truth in a few of them. The earth has shifted overnight, or so it appeared. We have long defined earthquakes as arising from the collision of tectonic plates that force one wedge of earth beneath the other. Believe that the internal shoving match under the surface is all too easily unrecognizable. In classic earthquakes, we can feel the ground shudder and crack beneath us. We can see the devastation of the landscape or the tsunamis that follow. What scientists have only recently discovered is that the more familiar earthquakes, those that are easily measured while in progress and instantaneous in their destruction, are often preceded by longer, slow-moving catastrophic disruptions rumbling 20 miles or more beneath us, too deep to be felt and too quiet to be measured for most of the human history. They are as potent as those we can see and feel, but they have long gone undetected because they work in silence, unrecognized until a major quake announces itself on the surface. Only recently have geophysicists had technology sensitive enough to detect the unseen stirrings deeper in the Earth's core. They are called silent earthquakes. And only recently have circumstances forced us in this current era of human rupture to search for the unseen stirrings of the human heart, to discover the origins of our discontents. By the time of the American election that fateful year, back on the northernmost edge of the world, the Siberians were trying to recover from the heat that had stricken them months before. Dozens of the indigenous herding people had been relocated, some quarantined and their tents disinfected. The authorities embarked on mass vaccinations and the surviving reindeer and their herders. They had gone for years without vaccinations because it had been decades since the last outbreak, and they felt the problem was in the past. An apparent mistake, a Russian biologist told a Russian news site. The military had to weigh how best to dispose of the 2,000 dead reindeer to keep the spores from spreading again. It was not safe merely to bury the carcasses to rid themselves of the pathogens. They would have to incinerate them in combustion fields at up to 500 degrees Celsius. Then douse the cinders and surrounding land with bleach to kill the spores to protect the people going forward. All above, and more vexing for humanity at large, was the sobering message of 2016 and the waning second decade of a still new millennium, that rising heat in the Earth's oceans and in the human heart could revive long buried threats, that some pathogens could never be killed, only contained, perhaps at best managed, with ever improving vaccines against their expected mutations. What humanity learned, one would hope, was that an ancient and hardy virus required, perhaps more than anything, knowledge of its ever present danger, cause to protect against exposure, and alertness to the power of its longevity, its ability to mutate, survive, and hibernate until reawakened. It seemed these contagions could not be destroyed, not yet anyway, only managed and anticipated. As with any virus, and that foresight and vigilance, the wisdom of never taking them for granted, never underestimating their persistence, was perhaps the most effective antidote for now. My goodness. Mm. Whew. So oh my goodness. So what's crazy is she's talking about the election from 2016, right? But y'all, we are here again. We're here again. That same person that she just described is here again, even worse. So what she's, oh my goodness, and we witnessed this. We witnessed that what we thought had long been gone, racism, all of this stuff, the venom, the hatred. When Trump ran for the 2016 election, when he put himself in that campaign, again, we all, like she stated in the book, we all thought this was a joke. Like, really, he's making a mockery of the government. It was so much stuff. We all thought crazy thoughts, right? But for those who align with him and his mindset and his behaviors and his rhetoric, oh, they saw him as she stated in the book, their white savior. Because if he's in the office, then what lies beneath in the depths of the heart of them, they were able to come up and display very boldly, unapologetically. So all of their internal feelings were now able to come full force and out loud, lived out loud, spoken out loud, thought out loud, demonstrated out loud. And when I tell you, I had never experienced, don't get me wrong, we saw little remnants of racism. We saw it. We would be under a rock if we didn't see remnants, just small remnants here and there. Oh, but when this man came into office, in 2016, when he became the president, it was insane how much foolishness was going on. It was absolutely insane. not only outside in the country that we had to all share and live in, but inside the government and plus inside of his own situations. This guy was, oh my God, impeachment. Not only that, so much corruption, even over the course of Joe Biden afterwards, winning the election and things like that for the 4 years that he went from 2020 to 2024. When I tell you, this guy, we witnessed him. We witnessed the incision. We witnessed, him incite the storming of the Capitol. We witnessed this. We witnessed him incite so many different things. Charlottesville. We witnessed him do this. We witnessed him do this. Then over the course of those 4 years that Biden was in office, we also witnessed him, all of the people that he was, cronies with, go to prison. Okay? Go to prison. All of them. It was at like a domino effect. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody going to prison. Everybody linked to him, going to prison. Then he gets 34 counts, felony counts. And was still going through that process even days before the inauguration, to the point where we wasn't sure if he was going to even take the seat, and still got stuff out there. But how he got back, how he got back into that seat is insane to me, but it also is very telling. And this is a reason why this book is necessary. Because what she's talking about here is that things that used to plague us, just because it's lying dormant, and it's been dormant for decades and centuries, does not mean that it's dead. That sickness with the Siberian people, that stuff that was plagued was buried deep, 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 only for them to hit a heat wave, and the Caucasus that had been plagued those decades ago rose to the top. So although the Caucasus, meaning the people that used to demonstrate this hate and rage, is no longer here, the energy that they possessed and then gave to their seed is still here, alive and kicking. And that's what we're feeling. That's what we're feeling. This man said during this campaign, with the stroke of my pen, it's a wonder there is still ink. Okay? Because he's been stroking his pen since day one, since January 20th. With the foolishness, everything that he claimed he wasn't going to do, Project 2025, every single thing is being done back to back to back to back to back. The hatred that's ensued right now is insane. But these are the fabrics and in the tapestry of the country that we reside in. So how do we get through this? Okay, how do we get through this? So the next chapter here, you all, because we can't keep acting like it's not here. We can't keep acting like it's not happening. We cannot keep acting like it's not prevalent. It's not here. We're not standing in it, living it, sleeping it, eating it, breathing it. We can't keep acting like it. We can't keep avoiding conversations. We cannot keep doing this. And again, this is why the rhetoric is here. This is why Roe versus Wade was overturned. This is why. It's not because, we are so pro babies and we're just pro babies and babies and babies and babies. No. It has nothing to do with that. Just life is just so beautiful and babies are blessings. That is not the reason why, although babies are a blessing. The reason is, like she stated here, there is fear because according to the statistics, by year 2042, we are in 2025 right here. In less than 20 years, the white race will be the minority. Okay? And there is fear there. Okay. When you find someone, this is the spiritual backing of this. This is spiritual connotation of this. When you find someone that is so dominant and have to throw their weight around and have to tell and prove to people how much power they have, and I have the power and you have to listen to me. Guaranteed that person is riddled with fear. That person is fearful, because a real authoritative person don't have to wear their badge around. Not at all. They operate with authority. Okay? They speak with authority. You know, they understand that their power, their position is not one to dominate people. That position, the higher your position, the more you serve the people who's under you. You make their positions easier for them by giving them the resources and the support and the encouragement and the motivation and the this and the third. Your job, the highest role that you play, says that is you are to serve and to assist and to position the people under you in the best possible way so that they can yield great response, great results in their arena, thus everybody benefiting and you looking good. But when you have a person who is dominant in this power, this power thing is big. What they're doing, whether they realize it or not, they're really proving how fearful, how scared they are, and how really internally insignificant they are to themselves. Because who are you outside of that title? Who are you outside of that title? Who are you? Who are you outside of that position that you have? Who are you outside of that money? Because see, one thing about superficial, inauthentic power, it's external. It's title based, it's money based, it's material based. Okay. All of that, clothes and what I drive and my house, all of it is externally based. That is inauthentic power. We learn this in the Seat of the Soul. True power comes from within. It's a soul-based power. Okay? True power don't require people to gas you up every 5 minutes, compliment you every 5 minutes. Okay? True power don't need a camera to do what it does. True power. True power doesn't need to dominate others to make them feel powerful. Because I can syndrome. Because I can. That's not true power. What that shows is that once upon a time, somewhere in your life, you actually didn't have any. You didn't have a voice. You didn't have a say so. You couldn't choose for yourself. Therefore, now that you have the ability, now you're abusing it, abnormally using it. Abuse. Abnormal use. That's what this is. Every 5 minutes, he needs to be complimented, or he got to compliment himself. That right there is proof psychologically. That right there is proof that you didn't get praise when you were a kid growing up. You didn't get enough praise. You didn't get enough attaboy. We're proud of you. We love you. You did a great job. He didn't get enough of that. So now his little child inside of him is requiring to be complimented every 5 minutes. You didn't get enough of that. What we're seeing is his inner child yelling and screaming for, love me, like me. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing outward manifestations of inner child work, inner child shadow situations that need to be confronted and healed and dealt with. And unfortunately, we, the country, have to, we have to deal with the byproduct of unhealed trauma. Okay? That's what this is. In his own family, he might have not had a voice. He might have not been seen enough. He might have not been noticed enough. And so that's why he needs to be noticed and seen and all of that. Now, trust me, there is a genesis to all of it. There's a genesis to all of it. So, again, what we're looking at is not just, oh, I can't believe this is still here. we were great as a country. We had come from a place, yeah, it's still here because although the originators of this hate and cruelty are gone, their bodies rather are gone, the seed of the remnants, the residue of the seeds that they planted is still here, generations after they're gone, still lingering, still here. And all it takes is the right person to bring it up out of you. That right person. And he, unfortunately, back in 2016, was the person to open up the floodgates and make those people who think like him, make them feel comfortable enough to live out loud. And chaos ensued. Same now. But see, here's the thing. Now we have a difference of dynamic here, because yes, it was that same mindset that got him elected again, reelected. Crazy work, you all. Crazy work. But now, see, it's starting to affect them as well. And the people that voted him in. It's not just affecting minorities and indigenous people. Oh, no. Especially with the rollback of the DEI. Oh, what? Did y'all not think that you all were the ones affected most than minorities and indigenous people? Oh, man. You should have read the fine print. Because now, yes. Oh, yes. There's a lot going on. Now everyone's outraged. They just had a rally. It was a couple of weeks ago. The majority of the people that was protesting wasn't us. But see, when we protest, a peaceful protest no less, the SWAT team, got the military, National Guard, everybody got to be out there because we're thugs and hooligans, right? But yeah, it wasn't us this time. We was out here learning the boots on the ground line dance. It wasn't our fight. See, now everybody's starting to feel what we've been feeling and saying for centuries. Equal civil rights. Civil rights. We're not saying no other lives matter. What we're simply saying is that ours matter too. That's what we're saying. Ours matter. Indigenous people matter. Their lives matter. Hispanic lives matter. Everybody's lives matter equally to white lives. Equally to. Because at the end of the day, we all have to live this human existence together. And if we understood and really, really, really understood with our heart space, our soul space, and not our race space, or, race space or trauma space, then we would understand that we are much better together. We're much better together. That's how we equally help the frequency and the vibration of the planet as a whole to increase when we come together as a whole. Okay? The only reason that you were born as the skin, in the skin, is because your soul's purpose, one of the soul's purpose of your life, require that you be so. Okay? That's it. Because at the end of the day, at the soul level, which is our actual true self, not the skin, this is a borrowed vessel. This skin, I am a soul cosplaying as Bianca. I am a spirit cosplaying as Bianca. When I'm done with this iteration, and when I'm done with this Bianca life, I return back to my actual self. That's why I said we can't take this thing so seriously, and we can't take it. We shouldn't take it personally like this. It shouldn't be this deep. It should not. Right? The titles and all of this stuff, it shouldn't be this deep. We were given these roles for our cause purpose, for our soul's purpose, for our work here in this life. And once we're done, once we've achieved that, we return to our soul self, where guess what? We all look the same. as souls, light beings. We all look the same. No skin, just light. Just light, just frequency. That's it, right? So I am excited about this book. When I tell you I'm excited, because in order for us to understand where we're going and how to get there, we got to first start. That's GPS 101. GPS 101. You can put in that destination all you want to, but it cannot create a route for you until you first identify where you currently are. And I love this. I love this. I love how she started this book. I love a perfectly written book. I really do, because it's a journey. It's a journey. Even with my first book, there's a journey. You got to start from the foundation and then build from there. Love it. So I'm looking forward to this. The next chapter, the next chapter is chapter 2. Or is it? Wait a minute. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, I have one more. Let me finish this. Okay. The next part of this chapter 1 is the vitals of history. The vitals of history. And it reads, when we go to the doctor, he or she will not begin to treat us without taking our history. And not just our history, but that of our parents and grandparents before us. That's it. The doctor will not see us until we have filled out many pages on a clipboard that is handed to us upon arrival. The doctor will not hazard a diagnosis until he or she knows the history going back generations. That's it. As we fill out the pages of our medical past and our current complaints, what our bodies have been exposed to and what they have survived, it does us no good to pretend that certain ailments have not beset us, to deny the full truths of what brought us to this moment. Few problems have ever been solved by ignoring them. Looking beneath the history of one's country is like learning that alcoholism or depression runs in one's family, or that suicide has occurred more often than might be usual, or with the advances in medical genetics, discovering that one has inherited the markers of a BRCA mutation for the breast cancer. You don't ball up in a corner with guilt or shame at these discoveries. You don't. If you are wise, forbid any mention of them. In fact, you do the opposite. You educate yourself. You talk to people who have been through it, and to specialists who have researched it. You learn the consequences and obstacles, the options and treatment. You may pray over it and meditate over it. Then you take precautions to protect yourself and succeeding generations to work to ensure that these things, whatever they are, don't happen again. Come on here. That's what you do. That's what you do. Now, on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to go over chapter 2. Chapter 2 is entitled An Old House and an Infrared Light. An old house and an infrared light. This is good, y'all. This is going to be good. So there's a reason why I wanted to pick this book up before we went to A Course in Miracles. Because A Course in Miracles is going to assist us, it's going to further assist us in knowing how to remedy these problems. We cannot solve, you cannot heal what you refuse to reveal. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable, but it has to be uncomfortable. It must be uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable in order to get solution. You have to face things. You have to confront things. You have to talk about them truthfully, authentically, out loud, honestly. Get angry. Get upset. Feel the feels so that we can get to the response and get to the answers. All right? We got to heal as a whole, because we are one of one as one. Okay? Alrighty, you all. Now, if you don't have this book, you must get this book. We are just starting. Get the book while we have it, okay? While we're getting started, so you can join us, or even read it at your own, pace, or whatever case. However you want to do it, do it. All right. To receive this ebook for of our reading material, inbox me with your email address. You can inbox me wherever you can reach me. Inbox me, email me, whatever the case. For those who are viewing on the screen, email me at info@biancamissblee.com. Again, that is info@biancamissblee.com with the email address that you prefer to receive your book, and I will send it over to you personally, okay? Those who are on Clubhouse, send me a DM, and I will send it over to you, whether you're listening to this message directly live. Hello, everyone who's here, and or on the replay. Either way, send me the message and I'll send it directly to you personally. Okay. Also, visit my website, you all. Take advantage of the services that I offer. Also, there's some merchandise there. My books are there and all of those things. I told you, like I am an astrologer, so you'll be able to see the updated transits. We are officially in Taurus season. Hello, hello, and happy season to the Tauruses. My son is a Taurus. April 24th is his birthday. And then a good friend of mine, her birthday is April 25th. And then a great friend of mine, his birthday is April 26th. So we have back to back to back Taurus B days, okay? And for everybody else, happy birthday to the Tauruses, okay? Alrighty, you all, listen. We'll be back here. Also, follow me. Follow me on social media, you all platforms. I am Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee, where you see it right there on the screen, or where you see it on the above under my name on Clubhouse in my bio. Okay, follow me on all social media platforms. Until next time, you all, we'll see you back here on Tuesday. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely, positively nothing, I mean nothing, that you can do about it. Don't you even try. It won't even work. Okay? Alrighty, you all. We'll see you back here on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. Peace.